What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A Repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Chris Gold.
Hey, everybody.
And Chris, you are just releasing some gas from your very fulfilling meal at Outback Steakhouse.
Yes, I did. Not a sponsor of the show, but they, just ate there right before recording. And yeah, it was really good. I had a bacon bourbon salmon with Aussie fries and mixed veggies.
Now, what exactly are Aussie fries?
All right. Aussie fries, if you really want to know what they are French fries. Imagine, if you can, French fries, but instead of the word French in front of it, they substitute
Okay.
the word Aussie.
That's
Yeah, they're extremely different from regular French fries, and it's that little difference that gives them an extra kick.
Are they cut in like a weird way or seasoned differently or anything? Or they're just
Nope. Literally French fries. And they call them Aussie fries. It's like how they serve chicken wings at Outback, but they don't call them chicken wings. They call them kookaburra wings. They're not actually...
that's
Now, it would be unique and a bold choice on their part if they were actually the wings from kookaburras, but they're not. And I feel like they're really selling themselves short, and they're selling the American people short. Because, I mean, like, we don't have kookaburras around here. We don't know what they taste like.
Yeah, well, if it was real kookaburra wings, they would probably cost like $200 a plate.
Well, you know what? It would be worth it to eat a genuine kookaburra. Okay? I'd pay top dollar to eat a kookaburra, like raw.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Yeah, no, it's very fair. I have no issues with that. Yeah, so, Justin, we run a video game podcast.
Well, you know how it wouldn't be an episode of Press A Repeatedly if we didn't start the episode talking about food.
Right. And, I mean, we always try to start these episodes off in a creative manner. And that kind of got us thinking along the lines of some of the more creative games that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, Aussie fries might not be a very creative way to relabel French fries.
No, it's not.
However, there are plenty of creative genre-based games that we are going to talk about today. And these games include, that's a variation of games from anywhere that's like sim-based games like SimCity or The Sims, to farming-based games like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, or even slice-of-life games like Animal Crossing.
Especially those slice-of-life games, they're creative in the sense that they offer you, the player, a sense of creativity. Like, yeah, you have a set goal in mind, but you have a unique way to go about achieving your goal. You don't necessarily have to say, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z. You just have to say, okay, here's your ultimate end goal. Reach it however you want in whatever time you want. So it's very low stakes, low pressure.
Yeah, and then we'll also be talking about games where you are actually creating a game for someone else to play inside that game. Something like Super Mario Maker, or even an RPG Maker, or Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Or Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet, perfect.
Yes. So we're going to be talking a lot about those creative types of games in just a second. But before we get into that, Justin, what are you playing?
Yes, indeed. What am I playing? Well, I hate to be a creature of habit, but again, the only game I've played this week was more Steamworld Dig 2. I'm sucked in, man. I can't stop playing it.
Can't stop digging Steamworld Dig 2. It's a great game.
And I meant to text you earlier because I wanted you to log on to your Switch and tell me how many hours you put into it. And, things like how many treasures you found. Because I'm curious of exactly how much exploring that you did. And I was talking to Nick about it earlier today because he played and beat it also. And I said, I can't believe you guys beat it so fast already. I mean, I started playing this game before you guys did, and I'm still playing it. And Nick was like, yeah, about halfway through, I started kind of zeroing in on the end of the game and just kind of, streamlined to the end. But for me, with every new upgrade I get in the game, I kind of go back to the world again and find the areas that I couldn't get to before, but that this upgrade helps you get there. Like, for instance, I mean, I just recently got the jetpack, and that thing
Oh
literally
yeah.
you can go anywhere.
Yep. Yeah, that jetpack is a lifesaver in the game, especially that issue I talked about last week where there's some areas you just can't get back to. The jetpack completely alleviates that issue.
Oh yeah, and like I'm talking I even went all the way back. You know, it was incredible to me because I think one of the most attractive things about a game for me personally is like the amount of being able to explore and rewarding you for all the amount of time you spend exploring. And I think SteamWorld Dig 2 does that exceptionally well because there are so many little things that you can get to at different points with different ways, with different, you know, upgrades that you get later in the game. And, you know, some might call it backtracking, which technically it is, but you're just really you're exploring the map, right?
Right.
Trying to find all the treasures, trying to find all the cogs, trying to find like random people that are kind of strewn out about the world that
Right.
give you blueprints. And one in particular that I found was when I got the jetpack, I went all the way back to the beginning of the game where you first start, where Dorothy is sitting by the fire up on that ledge, and then when you first start the game, you kind of jump down off that ledge and you can't get back up there. So
Oh, so you went
I went back.
went all the way back there?
Yeah, yeah, man. I went all the way back to there, and I was
Wow.
like, you know, there's got to be something around here, right? So I jump up top to that fireplace area, and then I look up and I like jump. I use a jetpack and then I kind of wall jump up, and then I notice there's like a little crevice for me to stand on, and then I do it again and go up some more, and there's another flat area, and I go up again. I was like, there's got to be something up here, and I go up again, and there was a guy up there, and he was like, "Oh wow, I can't believe you found me! Like no one knows I'm here." And he gave me a blueprint, and it was it was one of the upgrades that like it adds challenge to the game where you get more experience or something like that.
Mhm.
But it was just like it was such a cool surprise, and I was like, man, this game is chock full of so many surprises. And you know, it tells you in like the bottom right corner of the map like your percentage of how many secrets you found.
Right.
And I feel like I've been playing for almost 10 hours, maybe a little more. And my percentage is still like in like the 30s or 40s. It's still so low. Like I mean, there's so much to explore in this game. It's crazy.
I actually took a screenshot from when I beat the game because it shows you your final stats.
Okay.
And let me see. I played the game. Let's see, 7 hours, 5 minutes, and 5 seconds. I died 36 times.
Mm.
I got $6,373 worth of wealth, and I found 51% of the secrets.
Wow. Hey, you're over 50. It's good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I mean, clearly, I have. There was a lot more for me to discover in that game that I had no idea was there. I didn't find any of all the old artifacts. I certainly didn't find all of the people that were hidden throughout the game, especially not in those locations like you just pointed out here. Like that's really cool. I would never have even thought of going all the way back to the beginning like that.
Yeah, man. And even on that trek over there, there were things that I could have gotten to that I couldn't before. I was finding like treasure that I hadn't got to, cogs. There was like a door that entered into like a secret room that I haven't found yet. Like it was just like it was crazy. There's so much stuff to look for. And I did spend last week. I was kind of slamming the game a little bit for how I got lost, and there really isn't like a great quest log thing. And then I completely forgot. My brother reminded me that in the beginning of the game there is this quest pointer thing, and you have the option to turn it off. And I had turned it off because I didn't want like this giant like arrow to be pointing the entire time I was playing the game. So there is indeed a quest locating mechanic in the game. I just completely forgot about that because I turned it off so early.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, you're progressing so much to the game. Like you clearly are enjoying SteamWorld Dig a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't beat it yet because I just love to explore. However, I did do what I thought was the end of the game when you actually go into Vectron and like Fen powers like the teleporter thing,
Yes.
and then like you drop into this like post-apocalyptic like creepy robotic world where
Mm-hmm.
you're like kind of exploring through it. There's like no real music or anything.
Yeah,
There's no map to guide you.
yeah, it's super creepy, and like the enemies kill you in like one hit.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of like the Matrix, like the real world of the Matrix when like all the Sentinels are flying around and stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like those enemies you're talking about are like these giant like steel robot things that are like, they're inactive, but they're like these little flame spirits that fly around them. And if you get too close to the flame spirit thing, it goes into that metal robot and powers it up. And it is the most horrifying thing because they stand up and then they like scream and then they just sprint at you like full
Yeah.
speed. And sometimes there was like 7, 8, 9, 10 of these things, and when one gets activated, they all get activated, and then they all start just running at you, and like the lights are flashing. And at the
Mm-hmm.
very end of segment of that part, you have to literally like run as fast as you can while like 20 of them are chasing you. It
And
was horrifying.
and the music like gets really intense during those moments too. It's like and it's like oh god, and you're just running for your life. I hated that.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. But
But
man, it was a cool.
yeah, but no, you're like you said, you're not done. You still got a little more to go.
Yeah, I thought that was the end, and then I like you come back from that, and then you realize there's still other parts of the map you gotta go check out. So, yeah, I'm taking my time with it, but I'm still having a lot of fun, and yeah, it was still another busy week for me. So that was probably the only, well, that was really the only game I played this week. So Chris, what about you?
Let me see. I played a good bit this week, and I also ate a good bit this week. Yeah, Justin, I'm happy to report publicly that I was able to procure a box of the Super Mario cereal.
I'm still shocked by this.
Yeah, I went to my local store and I was doing some food shopping, and I went down the cereal aisle because I needed some cereal, and lo and behold, I passed by and there was not just a box of the Super Mario cereal, Justin, but a whole row of boxes. I mean, they had plenty of boxes there to spare. I mean, I saw it and I was shocked. I was just completely caught off guard. I was like, they still have this out? Like, it's, I thought they had completely sold out of this, but no, there it was right there. So I yoink scooped up a box real quick, and this morning, as we are recording, it's Saturday, I had a bowl of the cereal for breakfast.
And let us know.
I gotta say, the novelty of eating Super Mario cereal vanishes the instant you first put the spoon in your mouth.
I just
It
you did tell me that earlier today, but I still can't believe it.
it's really not that great. The aesthetic of the cereal itself reminds you a lot of Lucky Charms, because I mean it looks like these funny little like kind of starburst shapes are the main bulk of the cereal. Like that's the actual quote unquote nutritional part of the cereal itself.
Right.
And those pieces are just really, really not great. Like Lucky Charms is like covered in sugar, and that's what gives it its flavor. These are just kind of like bland. Like they they just don't really have a good flavor to them. There's just nothing there. There's nothing. What saves the cereal for the most part are the marshmallows, which are in various shapes. You have the one-up blocks, you have one-up mushrooms, you have regular power mushrooms. These are scattered pretty generously throughout the cereal itself. And when you find the bits of marshmallow as you're eating it, that gives a good bit of flavor to the rest of it. Without the marshmallows, though, this would be a just not a good cereal. Like it's fine. I'll finish the box and then that'll be that. But Yeah, it's not one where I would be like, oh man, like I have to have this. This is an amazing cereal. I can't recommend it for that.
Well, that's disappointing, but I'm glad that it sounds like they're starting to get readily available again because the idea of people not being able to get a cereal is horrible to me. I was so just frustrated and annoyed by that news. And like after all the amiibo fiasco and all this stuff, like to not get a cereal for Pete's sake, ugh,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it Nintendo has had their issues with supply in the past, especially like you said with Amiibo and with getting their systems out there for everyone. It seems like they've I mean, to be honest, it sounds like they've sorted out a lot of those issues. Like you go to a Best Buy or different stores of that nature, and you can see that they have Switches and even the SNES Classics available, which were running in very short supply for a long time. And
Yeah, very true.
yeah, they have those available. The amiibos at a lot of these different stations, they seem to be a lot better stocked than they were in years past. And yeah, I was able to find the cereal, and it's not like it was hidden away somewhere where people just kind of forgot it was there. No, it was there. It had its own section on the shelf, fully stocked and ready to go for anyone to pick up and buy. So I feel like they're. It seems to me like they are sorting out a lot of their issues with the supply chain, and are getting the product out that people very clearly want to, want to procure. Um, Now, I mean, they just this week introduced their Nintendo Labo project, where you're gonna actually be able to control different cardboard products using the Switch controllers itself. It just I still can't believe I just said that. Like it's amazing what they can think of with using this system. And now they're going to be cornering the cardboard market too.
Yeah, well, speaking of creative, I mean that's a whole nother thing we can talk about a little bit later on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, God, Nintendo, they've been breaking the mold for as long as there has been a mold to be broken in the video game industry. But yeah, getting back to the cereal though, it's fine. The box itself comes with an amiibo scan, which I haven't used yet for Super Mario Odyssey or any other type of game. So I still have to try that out, see how it works. The amiibo functionality itself is cool. The cereal itself is just kind of meh, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, again, bummer, but at least you got to try it.
I did.
What non-edible video games have you been playing this week?
Um, Surprisingly few non-edible video games, Justin. Um, the Probably the most I put into this week was Thimbleweed Park.
Oh yeah, I've been poking at you to get this for a while. I'm glad you finally picked it up.
Yeah, I was tired of you poking me, so I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna get Justin off my ass and say, all right, I'm gonna play Thimbleweed Park and give it a shot. Thimbleweed Park is an adventure style game that is very reminiscent of the old LucasArts style adventure games, both in scope, I would say, and in tone. Basically, you control two different federal agents, Agent Ray and Agent Reyes. Now, excuse me. Now, Agent Ray is she is sort of a Scully type federal agent, like Mulder and Scully from the X-Files. She reminds you a lot of Scully, both like in the way she talks, her hairstyle, everything. Like she's pretty much Scully, but she very clearly has like a secret agenda going on in the game. Like she's always, whenever she's by herself, she always talks about, oh, like I need to figure things out in this town so that way I can execute my plans. We've got like big things to deal with. And you're like, oh, what's going on here? And Agent Reyes is kind of a rookie federal agent. Like, he's a little bit too eager to solve crimes and like bring justice to the land, that sort of thing. Like, he's very kind of not, I wouldn't say wide-eyed, but he's a little naive and very gung-ho about his job.
Yeah.
And so the two of them just so happen to be assigned together to solve the mystery of a murder that occurred in the titular town Thimbleweed Park. And Thimbleweed Park is this little town that's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I guess the deceased is somehow related to this man who had died a couple days before the events of the game, named Chuck. And Chuck ran the world-famous pillow factory that was headquartered in Thimbleweed Park and is what put Thimbleweed Park on the map. But as time has gone on, the pillow factory kind of fell into disrepair. People weren't buying pillows as much as they used to anymore. And as the pillow factory fell into disrepair, then the town kind of went with it because they based all their fortunes off of the pillow factory.
Okay.
Yes. The tone of most of the game, honestly, is like it's dealing with a very serious subject matter, but it definitely reminds me of the old LucasArts games because this game is hilarious. The writing in this game is amazing. The characters are designed both like in the way they look and in the ways they interact with everyone. They're just so unique and clever and just off the wall goofy. Like early in the game, you meet up with the local sheriff, and he's this guy. He's like, "Hey, howderino, Federinos. Welcome to Thimbleweed Park. Looks like we got ourselves a murderino to solve on our hands." Yeah, and he like talks like that, and then it'll be like, "Oh, like we need to inspect the body. Oh, well, you'll need to talk to the coroner. Excuse me a sec. I need to go take care of some paperwork." So the sheriff goes into his office, and then you go to the coroner's office, and it's the sheriff, but he's wearing a coroner's outfit, and he's like, "Hey, howdy ho, feds. Here you got a body to look at." And you can ask him like, "Aren't you the sheriff?" And he's like, "Oh, me? No, siree, no. I ain't the sheriff. He and I are two completely different people." And it's like, all right, buddy, whatever.
So does it play exactly like those old games where you have like push, pull, talk to, give?
100%.
Like those options?
100%, yes.
And you're playing on Switch, right?
I am playing on the Switch.
So is touch enabled?
Touch is enabled. I can tap on the screen, and the characters will go wherever I tap. What's cool too is different items will I guess they have an automatic secondary function. So for example, doors, I'll tap on a door and the characters will walk to the door. If I double tap on the door real quick, it will automatically open the door and my characters will walk through it. So I don't have to imagine taking the mouse and click open, then drag it up to the door and click that, and then click it again so that my character walks through the door. I can just literally tap on the door real quick, and they'll go through. So it's pretty well streamlined. I'm not entirely sure how far into the game, in terms of am I halfway there or whatnot. Right now I've gone through a couple of flashback sequences that kind of explore the backstory of the characters a little bit, which both backstories that I've gone through are just hilarious so far. I don't even necessarily want to just talk about them too much, One of them is about this very foul-mouthed clown, and another who does factor very heavily into the story.
Okay.
And the other is about like Chuck. He ran the pillow factory. He wanted his niece to take over the pillow factory when he was gone because she was the smartest one in the family, but she threw all of that away for as some you eventually interview like her sister, and she threw it all away for the worst reason imaginable. She wanted to become a video game designer. And you see her like it flashes back to like the 80s, and there's this dorky looking girl, and she wants to apply to a job at Mucus Phlegm Studios, where they make all sorts of cool adventure games and things like that. And Mucus Phlegm, like you look at their logo, it's obviously a riff on LucasArts.
Lucasfilm?
And Lucasfilm, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of funny little jokes like that throughout the game. The dialogue is hilarious. The characters are really great. I'm having a blast with the game so far. I mean, the one annoyance is, I mean, it's the same annoyance you've got with any adventure game. It's a lot of clicking around, and there are some locations where it's more annoying to travel around than others, because I mean you're pretty much exploring the entire town, and then there's one section like there's a cemetery, and you're clicking through because you want to try to get through the end, and it's just a lot of winding pathways that go all over the place, like, and they go up, down, left, right, and you're trying to get your character to go one way, but like imagine like you're trying to tap on the screen like, okay, go up, but the character, I guess, decides, oh, instead of saying go up, it wants you to go right. So you'll go the wrong direction. You're like, no, and you'll try to tap it to go the proper direction. It can get annoying.
Got you. Okay. I know the puzzles mostly in adventure games sometimes can, especially the older ones, like can be really tough to solve and figure out sometimes. How do you feel they're balanced, like difficulty-wise, in this game?
Some of the puzzles can be a little challenging. I mean, some of them, if you pay attention to the environments, you can kind of discern, like, okay, how do I figure things out? If you think about what you need to accomplish and the different items you have on hand, you can kind of figure out what you need to, what the solution is. You can kind of suss things out. What's both kind of cool and not cool is you can pick up items. That's one of the selectable actions you can do. Pretty much anything that's lying on the ground or just lying out in the open, you can pick up. That doesn't mean, I've discovered this, that doesn't mean that it has a purpose towards a puzzle. It just means, oh, there's a thing that you could pick up, so you pick it up. Now, on that same token, you want to pick up everything because you never know, hey, will this be involved in a puzzle somehow? Like, I'm not going to give away the solution, but I had to create a fire in the young girl's flashback, the one who wanted to be a video game designer. And
Right.
And the way to create that fire was very creative, and I had to like think about that a lot. But if you do get like truly stuck on any one of the puzzles, the game has a very clever workaround to solving some of the tougher puzzles. It has an in-game hint hotline. So in most areas of the game, there's a telephone, and there's also these flyers that you can look at to inspect more closely, and they're set kind of like those job ad type flyers where they have like the numbers printed at the bottom, and you rip the number if you're interested in whatever service it is.
Right.
And it has a telephone number on it that's like, hey, are you stuck playing Thimbleweed Park? Do you need a hint? Then call this toll-free number. And it's like a 4-digit number, and you press it in, and the game will kind of determine, okay, where are you in the story? What do you need to solve? Okay. Do you want a hint? Yes. All right. Here's kind of a vague hint. And then if you press it again, like, hey, I need like another hint, it will give you a more obvious hint than that. And if you eventually you keep pressing, and it will just tell you the solution is this. So there, you can get through the game eventually, but I'm trying my best to play through the game without having to rely on the hint system too much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's good to have that in the game, because if you need to really use one, it's not like you're cheating or anything. Like, it's built in the game for you to use it, you know?
Right.
So, I like that more than having to, like, Google what am I supposed to do here.
Yeah, looking through a walkthrough or pulling up a video on YouTube or something. Yeah, that feels that feels a little cheap. But I mean, this is now, if I remember correctly, Thimbleweed Park, when that first came out, I don't think it had this hint system, and a lot of people complained that the game was brutally hard without the
I remember
hint
that
system.
too. Yeah.
And
it was like a DLC that came later.
yeah, it was a DLC to kind of help
free
a lot
DLC,
of players.
but yeah.
Yes, which was very gracious of the developers. But yeah, I mean, that's the way adventure games go, though. Like they're tough, they're challenging. The whole fun part of it is trying to figure out the puzzle and say, okay, how do I progress through this game? What Rube Goldbergian process do I need to create here so that I can accomplish a simple task?
Right.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic callback to all the old LucasArts games. It just, I'm having a blast with it. It's a good, it feels like a good classic adventure game. Like it feels plucked right out of that early to mid 90s era when adventure games were at their peak. And yeah, I'm having a blast with it. I can't wait to finish this off.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're playing it.
Yes. Let me see. I haven't done too much else. I did pick up Rocket League for the Switch. So I kind of briefly went through. I haven't played any official matches on it yet. I've just kind of been going through the training modes to learn what the controls are on the Switch and try to figure things out. I'm still trying to do like the thing where you can fly through the air with the rocket boosters. Controlling that once you get in the air is ridiculously tough. Honestly, I don't know how, like, if you ever see, like, videos or streams from the Rocket League Championship Series, where people are literally professional Rocket League players, I don't know how they do what they do. Like, the dexterity and the control you need to pull off some of the moves that they do are just incredible. And I'm just trying to literally fly across the stage, and I can, and then I'll like hit the analog stick just a little bit in one direction, just trying to change my direction, and I just go wildly out of control.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the touch you need is just very, very subtle, but it's a fun game. Like it's a weird game. I have a Luigi skin on my car because it's one of the exclusive skins that you get for getting the game on the Switch. So
right.
So that's pretty cool. I got to get playing these games online though, because especially I'm excited that it has crossplay between like PC and Xbox users. Like that's really cool to me.
Yeah, and I wonder how that works exactly. If I'm playing, let's say on PC, and you're playing on Switch, and you have the Luigi Mobile, am I going to see that on my screen because I'm playing on PC? Like, you know what I mean?
I think you'll see it. I think you would be able to see it. It's just one of those things where, like, you see me playing in a Luigi car, and you could say, "Oh, that guy's playing on Switch." How that's interesting. I can't get that skin, but I can see it.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I guess, when you're playing one of the Pokemon games, like Red or Blue or something else, and there's a Pokemon that's exclusive to, like, say, Blue or whatever, and it appears in Red. And you're like, oh, there's that Pokemon. I want to pick it up. Oh, but it's in the other version of the game. It's like, oh well. Like, I guess I would have to either pick that version up or just say, whatever.
Guy.
Yeah, so it's a really cool concept. I've always been really, really interested in getting more involved in Rocket League. So, yeah, gonna give that a spin and see where it takes me.
Awesome.
And aside from that, not much else except you know what.
I indeed do. I believe that means it's time to hop into the Indie Arcade.
Indie Arcade.
Yes, indeed.
Last week, I gave Chris the game Pan Pan to play on the Nintendo Switch. Chris, take it away.
Okay, so Pan Pan. Pan Pan is, let's see, developed by Spellcraft and published by Might and Delight. And as we discussed last week, this is a game with a circle-shapey aesthetic to it.
Right.
Yeah, we have to think of a better name than that, but for right now, that's really all I can think of. And
I don't know. If Metroidvania can stick as a genre name, then I think Circle Shapey could stick as like a design aesthetic style name.
yeah, that's very true. I think it was Giant Bomb who proposed changing the name of that to like
To Pathfinder game.
Pathfinder. Yeah, which
I love that name.
I love that name too. I'm all in on calling it Pathfinder as opposed to Metroidvania.
I would commit crimes to get that name changed.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I really enjoy Metroid and Castlevania games, the name Metroidvania has just always sounded awful.
Yeah, that just never sat right with me.
Yeah, so Pan Pan.
Right. Sorry.
Pan Pan is the game that we are talking about, and it's really an interesting look. It's got the circle-shapey aesthetic, and it's also sort of an isometric viewpoint. But you can also, with your camera, you can zoom in and you can zoom all around to explore your environment and look all over. And I gotta say, like, I played a bit of the game and I felt lost for a good chunk of it. So you start out and you're in, like, this spacecraft that has a balloon, I guess, as the support. And you're...
Doesn't seem practical, but okay.
Right. And as you're flying along, you press, like, a few buttons, and your spaceship starts kind of, like, busting up. Like, there's, like, these little dings and explosions, and your balloon falls down, and eventually you settle into this strange world. So you emerge, and you're looking around, and you're like, okay, well, where is any of this? And there's no dialogue, and there's no real spoken words in the game. Literally, you're just set out into this world. There's these creatures who are around, but none of them are aggressive enemies. They're just kind of sitting there doing their own thing. As you explore the game, like, you're aware of the area that you're in directly, and as you explore and move around to figure out, okay, what do I need to go, where do I need to go, you're just literally wandering around exploring. This sort of black cloud kind of dissipates, and you see more of the world open up before you. And at that point, that part of the map is unlocked for you, and you can always see, okay, here's this area, there's that area, as long as you've been there before. Figuring out what to do was very much a struggle for me.
I got that feeling just by looking at the screenshots. I can't tell you why, but I was like, I feel like this game is going to be very hard to just navigate and like
It's
figure out where you're supposed to go.
it's very hard to navigate, and even just to figure out, okay, what is my goal here? Like, I imagine I have to build a new spaceship, because very shortly after I wander away from my crash site, there is a new spaceship being built that has these four little ports in front of it that are connected to, I guess, these little circuits. So I deduced, okay, I have these ports here, and I have these little plugs, and when I pick one up and drop it down, it will power something up. Okay, and if I power up all four of these ports, that will charge this new spaceship, and I can get out of here. Okay, so I imagine that's what I have to do. At that point, though, I'm just set to, wander around, figure out where it is I need to go, what it is I need to go, and I am 100% on my own. Like, I'll try talking to these different characters, and all that they'll talk to me, like a word balloon will pop up, but it'll have a picture inside and not like actual words. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't help me.
It's just like a picture of a potato.
Yeah,
or
it's a
something.
picture of a potato, or a picture of, like a banana or something. And I'm like, man, I don't know what you're saying. And I'll get to this gap in the wall. Like, imagine there's like a gap that I would have to jump over, and I try to get my character to like jump over that gap, and it's just like, 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 yeah, it. I mean, my avatar doesn't say anything except if there's something that it looks like a she. If there's something she can't do, then she'll just be like, and and she'll shake her head like side to side, and I'm like, all right, fine, we're not gonna jump the gap. Man, I didn't get very far in the game, honestly, just because there were all these plugs lying around, and there's all these ports that I imagine, okay, I plug these in, it'll open that door, and then there's a plug in there, and I'll plug it in here. But it was just, I don't know, maybe it's just a little too abstract for me to figure out, but I just could not get very far in the game, and it was a little annoying. Just as, I mean, like, I understand, and I like the idea of, I ordinarily like the idea of, don't directly tell the player what to do, have them naturally figure it out themselves. But
Yeah, of course.
but when it's so open world and so open ended like this, that you literally don't even understand, like, okay, what exactly am I supposed to be doing here? That's a little too much. Like, you have to guide the player along and let them kind of discover naturally, okay, here's what I need to do, and then the player can kind of figure out where to go from there. But this game, I feel like, doesn't really do a very good job of guiding the player to where it is that they need to get to. And it was very frustrating.
The music any good?
Music was very mellow. Yeah, nothing spectacular, I would say. It's very calming, very soothing. This is definitely a game, like, it's a very relaxing type game. Like, there's no time limits on anything. The sounds are very gentle. The music is nice and smooth. You can go at your own pace. Like, this is a good game to kind of play if you want to relax. Like, it's not very high stakes at all. So, I mean, that's one nice thing about it. But yeah, it just wasn't it wasn't my thing, unfortunately. Like, I might give it another shot just to kind of figure things out, but yeah, I just feel like there was too much open-endedness there. It didn't really give me a good way of figuring out, okay, how do I do what it is I need to do, and it just really wasn't my bag.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of people, they kind of like the abstractness and like just kind of weird searching around, whatever, no rules kind of thing. And I can totally also see the other side of that coin where it's just incredibly frustrating and you just want to make some sort of progression and you just cannot figure out how. So, yeah, I can totally sympathize with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people like the game. Not everything can be a gem for us, though, so c'est la vie.
Oh, man. Pan pan.
Oh, man, pan pan. So, Justin.
Yeah.
Now, gears have shifted. Now it is time for me to assign you your indie arcade game for the week. Now,
and should we remind the crowd that I do have in my hand a flip around card that could flip the game back on you if I so choose?
I don't think there's any need to remind the world of my failures. That's, that is not necessary. And I don't think it's going to be necessary for this one game. Now, I'm not 100% sure if you've played this game or not. According to Steam, you do not have this game. So I'm holding out hope. This is probably one of the more popular indie games to have come out over the past couple years. It's one that a lot of people have cited as one of the best games to really have ever come out, especially from the indie scene.
Wow.
Yeah, so I decided to give you this game. I hope you haven't played it yet. Justin, your indie arcade game is Hyper Light Drifter.
I have not played this.
Hyper Light Drifter. Explore a beautiful, vast, and ruined world riddled with dangers and lost technologies.
Wow. Okay. So, is this on Switch
Right
now?
Is it on Switch? Let me take a look. It absolutely is on Steam. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. Let me see. The Switch is... Let's see. Okay, July 18th. There was an article in Nintendo Life about Hyper Light Drifter might have a shot at coming to Switch.
Okay, so no for now, but that's fine. I will totally. This is a game that I haven't played, obviously, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. A lot of people talking about it. It was in like some running for Game of the Year when it came out, not last year, but the year before.
Yes.
Like a lot of people really, I mean, it was that highly praised. So yeah, I'm totally looking forward to playing this game. That's a great pick.
Yeah, it was. It was very highly praised since it was released, and when it was released, and ever since. And I'm looking at the trailers right now for it on Switch, and I mean, it's pixel art, but it is gorgeous. Like, this is a beautiful game. Like, I can't believe like the effects that they're pulling off here. And in fact, I remember when we played one of our favorite games from last year, Kamiko. A lot of comparisons at the time compared Kamiko, especially its art style and its aesthetic, to Hyper Light Drifter.
So yeah, man, that's a great pick, and I love Kamiko. That's one of my favorite games of the year last year. So I'm really looking forward to giving this a go.
Honestly, like, now I'm looking at it, I might actually play this game myself too. But I'll wait for you to play it and give us your thoughts next week before I dive in and play it myself. But yeah, this I mean, it's one of the new instant classics, and yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it.
Sounds great. What do you say we take a quick break, and when we come back, we will explore the realm of creative games.
That sounds like a good idea to me.
Welcome back. It's time for Chris and I to delve into probably one of our maybe secretly favorite genres of creative type of games.
Yeah, like we don't really talk about these creative type of games too much, but we play a lot of these types of games. Games. I mean, I'm looking at the list right now. We've got The Sims, Animal Crossing, Mario Maker, Stardew Valley, Minecraft, Harvest Moon. I mean, these are a lot of some of our favorite games that we've put hours and hours and hours into.
Yeah, and it's a tough genre to define because, again, like a lot of these games, while they do have a creative element to them, there are still different subgenres you could categorize them in, or just a different way of how to play them. But I think probably the first creative game that really stuck out in my mind, to me at least, that I've played was Mario Paint, which unfortunately I never owned when I was a kid. I wish I did, but I did play it over a friend's house before, and that game, of course, was just totally out there with what you could do. You could draw in it, you could make music, you could make little animations in it. It had tons of goofy sound effects. I mean, the game came with a mouse for the Super Nintendo to like be able to move the cursor across the screen, and it was almost like having Microsoft Paint for your Super Nintendo, but with a lot more added to it.
Have you ever watched any of the videos on YouTube of people putting together like popular songs and setting them to Mario Paint?
Yes, I have, and they are amazing.
Yeah, some of them, like I remember watching, I think, Through the Fire and the Flames through on Mario Paint, and it was incredible to me. Amazing. I think the earliest creative game that I recall being in my life was Sim City. We used to play Sim City a lot. I would say mostly not even just me, but my brother Bob would play Sim City a ton when we were kids, and I mean he knew everything about like how to lay out those cities and make them that so they were running efficiently. Like he knew, okay, you put like the residential zones over here, and then you have commercial zones here, industrial zones there, and he had it so that, I mean, his towns would build up and become wildly successful in nothing. Like, he was really, really good. In fact, he was actually part of a team. I think it was back in school. I can't remember what class it was, social studies or something. It had to have been social studies. And they would actually get together and design cities as a group in Sim City. And there was actually a competition at the Franklin Institute where you could actually you built like a 3D model of the city that you designed, and you showed it off at this competition, and you could like win all sorts of different awards for different criteria. And it like he went to that for a few years. And I remember they actually won an award for best underground depiction because they had their entire city set up on an elevated level with blue pipes underneath to depict all the piping, the underwater pipes that went beneath the city. Yeah, my brother, he was really into SimCity for a long, long time.
This is awesome. And how did you never tell me this? It's a great story.
I just never really had an occasion to bring the story up before. But yeah, it's I was always like really impressed. Just I would try to build the cities myself, and they were just not that great. Plus, I didn't have the patience to sit down and try to build a city all by myself from scratch. So I just liked watching my brother go to town, literally, and build these cities. Yeah, it always impressed me.
Yeah, and that's so great, and we can even backtrack a bit to how we would define a creative game. But like this is somebody, or for anybody really who is not maybe they're not great at a normal progression style type of game, fighting enemies, getting better. This type of game, these type of games work a different part of your brain, right? You're excelling the
Right.
creative aspects of your mind. You have what's visualized in your head, and like you're laying it out and kind of building on it, working on it. You're understanding how the game works. Like for example, SimCity, you have to make money to build better, bigger buildings and streets and stuff. So you're learning what you need to build, what you need to power to have your town generate the most income, and then expanding on that. So while you're not technically progressing through a game that you normally would do, let's say with like a first person shooter or something, going through different levels and getting stronger, you're still getting better at the game. You're making more money in this case. You're doing things. Your towns are getting better than they were when you first started. So you're still doing a lot of work and still mastering just what this game has to offer.
Right, exactly. And the games, they teach you sort of what it is that you need to do just by kind of giving you the sandbox environment to play in. But they have certain restrictions. Like, you can't do everything in the game. Like, you can't just do anything, which in and of itself is a good thing, because when you have when you have an open world, you have an open mind, and you can just literally like do whatever at any point. That in and of itself stifles creativity, because you think, okay, well, what can I do? And you can't really think of anything. But when you have these barriers in place, when you have these rules in place, then you think, okay, how can I work within the confines of these rules? And I mean, like, there were different times, like, I would try to, getting back to SimCity, I would try to build build a city with maybe the residential areas on the inside, and then in yeah, I think residential areas on the outside of the map, and industry in the middle. And I remember my brother, he would tell me, like, no, 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 like, you've got to do this and that, because otherwise the city isn't going to run properly.
Right. It's
And
not efficient.
yeah, it's not efficient. And I mean, it's a lot of it is trial and error too. So that's part of what's really interesting about these games, is just kind of tweaking within, seeing, okay, what works, what doesn't, and eventually figuring out, okay, what's the best solution to everything.
If I had to give you a con of a creative game, right? Like, whereas some people might really excel at being able to just kind of sit down, relax, start build something, without that, like going back to Pan, right? That lack of direction might not bother a lot of people. Whereas in the other hand, some people might get frustrated that they don't have that. Like, what am I supposed to do? What's my end goal here? And I'm gonna use this specific example, not to single him out, but you remember when we first introduced Zool to Minecraft, right?
Yes.
He played it for a bit, he gave it a shot, but ultimately it wasn't his bag. Like he didn't like the idea of, like, we weren't really doing anything. We were building houses, we were just kind of like messing around, working on farms. And I remember him saying,
Right.
like, what are we doing? Why aren't we doing anything? And I'm like, oh no, this is the game. Like, we're just kind of doing our own thing. We're building stuff. We'll maybe go travel into the mine to grab some stuff here and there. And with all due respect, he just did not like that. He was not a fan of not having like a progression, or like a clear directive. And he
Mm-hmm.
realized the game wasn't for him. And for me in the beginning, I was like, how does someone not like this game? Like, you can do anything. Like, there's no restrictions. But then I thought about it more, and if that's not something that you're into, I can see how, for me, I'm fine. I'm good with it. But someone else could get very bored with it very quickly. So it's another reason why these games aren't for everybody.
Right. And even myself, like, I really enjoy playing those creative types of games, but after a while, it starts to get into sort of a repetitiveness, with creative type games. Like after a while you're like, okay, I'll try doing this and then I'll do that. And eventually you either reach the limits of either what the game will allow you to do or the limits of your own imagination, and you'll eventually find yourself repeating the same actions over and over that's just not fun, and you'll eventually bounce off the game that way. And for some people that point comes sooner rather than later. And again, like, I mean, let's say Zool is a great example because like a lot of people need a progression system like that. I frankly, when I'm playing a creative game, like I need a progression system. If I didn't know that there were certain goals, certain breadcrumbs laid out for me, like, hey, play this game and you should do this and you should do that. And eventually I try to work my way towards achieving those goals. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. Like a game like Stardew Valley, I would probably have bounced off Stardew Valley a lot more quickly if it wasn't for something like the community center or like the different friendship ratings where you can get your hearts up to to befriend and potentially marry some of the townsfolk. The different items that are in the community center where you can harvest this item or grow this or milk that and put them in the different bundles so that you can build up the community center and make it great. If all I had to do in that game was just farm, like buy seeds, plant crops, and then sell them for money, I would have bounced off the game very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's funny because you said that because I was actually just about to bring up that there are certain types of creative games that I think balance both ends of the spectrum pretty well, and that would be like a Stardew, a Harvest Moon, an Animal Crossing, even like The Sims. Because you're spending time like building stuff. You can do whenever you want, but it's not the whole core of the game because you also need to make money to build stuff. You also need to pay off your loans. You need to, sell your crops to be able to expand your house. You're supporting a wife and kid now in like Harvest Moon or Stardew or The Sims, Like, so there's still other goals for you to get to if you want to, but there's no time limit to get to them. So you can still, if you want to spend a day just rearranging your farm or clearing out rocks and shrubbery and twigs and stuff from your farmland, like you can totally do that. Or if you want to just make a lot of money in one day, you're going to harvest all your plants, you're going to go out into the world, you're going to pick up like stuff that you can sell, you go to the mines, you'll go fishing, and you'll just make a lot of money in one day and pay off some stuff that you need to, or, maybe put a down payment on like a new chicken coop or whatever. So like, I feel like those games kind of have like the sweet spot of kind of both your creative aspect and also like your progression system both like married together pretty well, and I think that's what makes those games the most addicting of everything that we're listing today. I mean, Stardew Valley, I put 70 hours into that. Animal Crossing New Leaf, I had over 100. Yeah, and I don't even know
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like when I saw that number on like the total hours played, I couldn't believe it. It was like a blur. Like it just flies by. That the time just goes so quick. It's ridiculous.
It can be very easy to think, oh, these games where you have like the day-night system, where each day you're kind of doing what you feels like the same things in and out. Like Animal Crossing, you're always fishing or catching bugs, but Stardew Valley, you're harvesting crops. But no, you're right. Each day, you really only have a certain amount of time to accomplish particular tasks before the day is over. Like in Stardew Valley, you can go into the mines, or you can like spend all day fishing, or you can look at your crops, or you can go into town and interact with the townsfolk. Like you have a lot of options to do each particular day. Animal Crossing is a little different because it actually operates on a real-time system. So you have each day you can get the money by hitting the one particular rock. You can catch certain fish or catch certain bugs at certain points of time. Um, yeah, it's very it's kind of structured a little bit differently, but each time you log in, it's different enough to offer you a unique experience each time you play.
There's another type of creative game that we haven't talked about yet, which is basically a game where you are making a game inside that game for someone else to play. I think the most popular examples of this would be Super Mario Maker, Little Big Planet, RPG Maker. Where you are actually using the game system to build another game for your friends to play or for yourself to play. And you know, at first it seems like work, right? It's almost like a software program. You're kind of learning how everything works, and like who would want to, that's not a game. That's work. Who wants to do that? But once you get in there and start messing around, because these are developed mostly for consoles, they're made with pretty easy to understand interfaces. They pick up pretty quickly. They're really like cleverly displayed in a fun way. I mean, think of all the wacky stuff in Mario Maker, of just like weird sound effects and like dogs barking, and then like that weird fly swatter game that comes up sometimes in the middle of working on a level. Like they really make it
Right.
fun to build a level in that game.
They do. A lot of the levels that eventually come out of Mario Maker, though, leave a lot to be desired. Which
That's
I mean,
true, but that's not really what I'm talking about right here, because that's kind of that's almost a different part of it. I'm kind of focused more on the
yeah,
actual level building.
right. Yeah, I mean, the actual creativity that's on display in those games, yeah, you have. It's very similar to when, again, where you're creating something, say in like The Sims or SimCity, where you can build an entire system from scratch, like whole cloth, but there are still rules in place. There's a certain efficiency that you have to consider when playing the game. Like you have to have a platform. You have to have platforms for everyone to stand on. Different enemies obey particular rules. Like green Koopas and Goombas will walk right off the ledge, whereas red Koopas and the Beetles will stay on the platform as they walk back and forth. So these are elements you have to consider as you're designing the level. Now, I mean, unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there when they build these levels, they just kind of throw creativity to the wind and just throw a lot of garbage in there, specifically to screw up the player. Which I mean, they're just abusing the system at that point. They're not like operating in good faith within what the game was set out to be. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's absolutely
you
frustrating.
it's very frustrating because you think about all these people who are playing the game and just the different options, like how creative some of these levels are. And I mean, we have seen and we have played a lot of very very creative levels in Mario Maker. How about the Mecha Bowzilla
Oh yeah, it's one of
level?
my favorites.
Yeah, the where it's literally an homage to the old Godzilla, and Bowser is this giant thing with like chain chomps around him and this shooting fireballs and bullet bills all over the place, and you have to slowly dismantle him across the entire level. Like that's really cool. Like that is so inventive and clever. Like I that is one of my favorite levels like ever. Is and I mean it's just I mean those gems, they stand out because I mean there's just such a sea of garbage out there. But the I mean that's just an example of what is possible in the game if you really sit down and set your mind to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Little Big Planet has a level builder in it. I actually have not played that yet, although I really want to. Have you ever played any of those?
I unfortunately have not played any of the Little Big Planet games, but I know their whole mantra is about let's see, it's got three core mechanics. It's play, create, share. which again is very similar to. I mean, we say it's. I'm saying it's similar to Super Mario Maker, but honestly, given the timeline of when Little Big Planet was released, Super Mario Maker is similar to Little Big Planet.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, Little Big Planet was the series that really introduced the whole, hey, let's build these fun creative levels for Sackboy to go through, and we'll share them on the internet, and friends and strangers can play these levels and just figure them out. And a lot of them have been very, very creative over the years. I haven't really seen too many examples of what these levels look like, but they're very wide ranging in how you can get Sackboy to the end goal.
Yeah, definitely. So, Chris, have you heard about Nintendo Labo?
I have heard a bit about Nintendo Labo. It's yeah, it kind of caught me off guard this week. Justin, what are your impressions of Nintendo Labo?
Well, it's, here we are talking about creative games. This is another whole nother new creative concept where you are creating peripherals to out of cardboard to put the Joy-Cons in and interact with certain types of game. Look, I'm not sold on it. I don't think it's something I'll ever get, but I do appreciate just the creativity of this thing, because who would think of this? Like, this is a very Nintendo thing to like kind of come up with.
This is so Nintendo.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I like that it's kind of outside the realm of the actual video game. It's kind of like an in between, something that like kids can do with their parents. I think it's a creative way to add these new peripherals. I mean, a lot of people were talking about games like releasing like a full like fishing attachment or like a baseball bat attachment, and to me that just sounded kind of bizarre that anyone would produce like a big bulky plastic thing to be used in maybe one game. But here you go. Here's a creative way to do that. However, I looked at the price of these things, and they're like $70, $80 each, and like that's how much a plastic peripheral would cost anyway, right? Like I don't know. I thought that to be really surprising.
It does cost a lot, but a lot of people are saying that ultimately it might be worth it, though, just for the fact that apparently now, I mean, like, a lot of us, like you and me, we watched when Nintendo announced this thing, and we were scratching our heads like, that's weird. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's a little weird. Apparently, like, a lot of parents with kids, like, when kids saw this thing being announced, they lost their minds. Like, little kids are like freaking out about this because I mean, the idea is really interesting. Like, you take cardboard and you fold it up, and you can actually control it with the Switch. Like, that's bonkers, Justin. It's just off the wall, zany bonkers.
It's crazy, and some of that stuff looks so complex. Like the
very
robot
complex.
one, like it's like a backpack with like two punching arms, and it has all these rubber bands in it that you have to like wire, I guess, properly. What if some of them like snap and stuff? How durable are these things? I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, it especially, like, I mean, you've got like little kids are going to be playing with these things, and you know how they like some of them can be a little careless with very fragile equipment. And
yes, totally.
Yeah, but it's a lot of money, but a lot of people are looking at the benefits of, I mean, kids are really excited about them, which is fun and good in of itself, but then you're considering the creative aspect to it, where kids aren't just, oh, you get a plastic peripheral and you're slapping a Joy-Con on it and saying, oh, there it is, it works. Like, kids are actually getting these cardboard cutouts, and they're folding them up, and they're cutting them out, and they're shaping them like they're actually physically building like fishing rods, or they're building pianos. And that especially when kids are young and their brains are developing, that can go a long way to influencing the creative centers of their brains and getting them more hands-on and just thinking more from, I guess, like an engineering perspective.
That's a
Just
good
in
point.
Yeah, just in terms of, like, they're actually getting their hands dirty and they're building something
But
rather than, yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but I was just gonna say that I feel like because they look so complex, like when I was watching that video, I just like had a thought in the back of my mind of like a very antsy kid going, "Come on, come on, come on, I want to play with it," and then like a mom like looking at the instructions with like one hand in her hair, like pulling her hair out, just like so frustrated and like pieces everywhere. I don't know. It kind of like that was my first thought looking at those videos.
That's that's a that's any toy though. Like every toy from like the from now since the beginning of time has been like that, where it's got like all the little pieces and you have to put them together. But
It just looks a
even
little
then, like,
complex, though. I don't think the kid would make it. I feel like the parent would have to make it. You know?
right, I'm sure the parent will have to play a role there, but uh, is that really such a bad thing to have parents more involved with their kids and the things that they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, no, but maybe not all parents would want to do that. Like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I guess like if your lives get busy and whatnot, but still, it could be like a cool little project. Like, hey, can you help me like put this together? Yeah, sure. Like,
Yeah,
I can't imagine it will take too long to actually
yeah. I
put it
mean, I don't
together.
really know. We really rewatched like a 2 minute video about it. And one
Yeah.
thing I definitely don't know is just how the damn thing works. Like, the piano one, like I don't get it. Like it has about like 12 actual piano keys, like both the white ivory parts and then the black parts on top, and then the Joy Cons kind of slide into the side, and then I don't know how, but pressing each individual key makes it work like a piano. But how are those keys interacting with the Joy Cons to be able to like tell the Switch what to do? Like I have no clue, and I'm really interested in how that would work.
Yeah, I'm a little curious myself. I think it has something to do with like these maybe magnetic strips of paper that you kind of like tape to the bottom of each key, or that's taped to each key. And when you press it, it interacts with the switch in some way and emits a sound. I'm I'm just kind of spitballing. I'm not 100% sure, but it's. I mean, bravo Nintendo. I mean, they caught everyone off guard with this announcement. I mean, nobody was. They announced like, "Hey, we're announcing a new way to play for kids and adults alike," and this completely caught everyone off guard. No
Well,
one was expecting this.
they had that market with the original Wii where it got all these casual players to hop into, and they lost that eventually after the Wii kind of wore off, and then smartphones and tablets kind of became a big thing, and they never gave up on trying to get that back. And like even when they announced the Switch and they showed a lot of like the Joy-Con stuff with like the HD rumble and just a lot of silly stuff that like the hardcore gamers don't really care about, and 1-2 switch, like they're still trying to get that extra audience in, and I think this is just another attempt at it, and it could be crazy enough to work. We'll see when it comes out, but from what you're telling me, it sounds like there's a lot of positive interest, and I have seen that too, because right when that video was over, I went on Twitter, and I was fully expecting to see a lot of "what the hell is this? This is so stupid. Nintendo lost their mind," and I didn't see a single bad one. About everybody was stoked. They loved it. They couldn't. What a crazy idea! I can't wait. I want the little house one. I want the robot one. Like I couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
Yeah, little known fact about the cardboard that Nintendo is selling. It's actually made from repurposed bits of Super Mario cereal that's smashed together into cardboard shape.
Interesting. And Super Mario cereal was actually made from repurposed parts of cardboard. So we're coming full
Yes.
circle here.
Yeah, I can vouch for that fact, ladies and gentlemen. That is 100% true.
Uh, so there we go. Ending this conversation with probably the weirdest and most creative way to play video games.
I would have to say so. Yeah, this. I mean, until Nintendo or someone else thinks of something even wackier than actual cardboard boxes. Um, but yeah, it's just amazing to me. Like, you think you've seen it all with the video game industry, but it pulls out more and more just really, truly inventive ideas to kind of challenge the player and explore what actually is possible within the world of video games. And yeah, right now we've seen a lot of really amazing, great ideas, and I can't wait to see what's further down the line.
Yeah, thinking outside the box, thinking creatively. Sometimes that really helps you, succeed. Think of the Wii, like the Wiimote. What a crazy idea when that first was announced and became one of the best-selling consoles ever.
Thinking outside the box by thinking with a box.
A cardboard box.
All right. I don't think I'm going to be able to end this with a better line than that.
Alrighty, that's all for this week. Remember, Press A repeatedly posts new episodes Mondays on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or tell other friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page and on Instagram at Press A Repeatedly. We are also on Twitter at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113 and Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. Chris and Justin signing off. And remember, to progress through the town so you can solve the heinous murder, press A repeatedly.
Long live Project Giant Robo.
Rest in peace.